Hello, and welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name is Jason Newland. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. This is the much anticipated Q&A Friday. Yes. Just to let you know, I've got a YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, then you kind of know that, I suppose. If you're not, and you're listening on the podcast, then just to let you know, my YouTube channel is at Jason Newland. There's a link on my website. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. I have quite a few podcasts, and they're all on all the different major podcast hosts and apps like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm spitting everywhere. So yeah, those. If you're not sure where my podcasts are, then if you go to my website, jasonnewland.com, there's a list of all the different apps. Click on it. This is in the menu. Click on whichever one you use. So if you use Deezer or Spotify or wherever it is, click on that, and then my podcast will be listed. Click on the podcast you choose, and it'll take you to the app. So it's just a quick way to find me if you don't know where I am. I'm here. Also, you can just subscribe or like, maybe, just so you can, because I think it's just a marker, isn't it? So you can find it again. I do 6 versions of each recording. I do 3 without music, 3 with music, and normal length 5 and 10 hours. I'm also in the process of putting together a shop. Oh, that's a long way away. But yeah, I've got a domain name and everything. So that's something in the future, but not right now. So far on YouTube, I've now got 1,484 subscribers, so that's nice. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased how it's going. It's good. It's not like super big or super fast or anything, but it's not growing. But it's, it's like, it's just, it's gradually. So yeah, I'm okay with that. The last 28 days, I've had 1.2 thousand watch time hours, and I've gained 57 subscribers. I know that's not a lot, okay, but for me it's huge. It's a very huge amount. So, I'm just going to keep doing it. I've made quite a few recordings this week. Quite a few. Probably one of my busiest weeks, actually, thinking about it. Let's have a look. It's not Speaker, it's Spreaker. And it's not Spreakers, it's Spreaker. That's kind of where my podcast is hosted, although my website is the place to find all my latest recordings. Let's have a look. I think last time, because I didn't do a recording, it should have been done Friday, Q&A Friday, but there was drama in my home, but in the building. Someone broke into the neighbour's flat downstairs and had to call the police, and this was at 12:30, and then didn't really leave the situation till 3. And I'd gone to bed at 9 with the hope of maybe waking up about 2 or 3 so I could watch the boxing. Instead, I thought, well, I'll just stay awake. which wasn't a good idea really. And I fell asleep watching the boxing, and I woke up, and I was completely knackered. But that's okay. It is what it is. It is what it is. What it is. So far, quickly, this week, I do believe, right, the Deep Sleep Whisper Hypnosis is just creeping up on the Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply podcast. There's about 500 in between them in the stats for this week, so I'm kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, yesterday, Deep Sleep Whisper Hypnosis was 500 more just in the day than anything else. So that just seems to be the way things are at the moment. So I'll move on from all that. I said the police were here, and it's quite weird because I'm down there in a t-shirt. It's cold. I don't know why I didn't wrap up. I guess I didn't expect to be down there for long. So we were chatting amongst the neighbours and stuff, and I was trying to make the police laugh, and that didn't go very well. And then the police eventually went outside and said, we're gonna go in a minute. And I saw my opportunity to let out some wind. So I stuck my bum out the door, the main door, I thought it was just going to be like a little silent one, but it shook the building. And the other neighbours were still there. I just thought I'd be able to just like ease it out like that. But it was... And the police came running in. Is everything okay? But yeah, that's one of those things. What else? That's it really. I mean, there's a whole... I could probably talk for about an hour about that just on itself. Not the fart, but... I've been invited to join Citizens Against Eversource. I don't even know what that is. Don't even know. Well, I've had a comment. Cara says, don't worry if it's... Oh yeah, I posted yesterday... Q&A Friday will be late this week due to lots of neighbourhood drama. That was 9 hours ago. Any other questions? It was Monday. That was there. It's now 2:45 in the afternoon on Saturday, the 15th of February, 2025. Cara writes, don't worry if it's late or you skip this one. Time, that's okay. I look forward to hearing about the neighbourhood drama. There's nothing like real life to give us fodder for interesting stories. If you're well, hope you're well. Thanks. I might talk about it maybe next week, or if I do a recording tomorrow, I try and do a Sunday summing up the week, like just roughly talking about what's happened that week. So maybe I'll try and do that tomorrow. Right, so I will do the questions. Q&A Friday. I don't have many questions to answer. And it's not warm in here for some reason. I'm sure I closed the window. Did I close the window? I think I did. Right, so there's only a few questions. Let's have a look. Why didn't you do Q&A Friday last Friday? From Chris. Well, I actually replied this in the actual message. I did do one. I think maybe because I've been... I don't know what the right word is. Very active this week with my recordings. So I think they might get lost. Because I've been doing quite a few recordings. I mean, this week... What date was last week? So it's... I don't know. Q&A Friday. So since last Q&A Friday. Q&A Friday. Or maybe not that many. 13th. Increased comfort. Oh, okay, yeah, I've done quite a few. Q&A Friday. So I did Q&A okay, on the 7th. So that was the 7th, last Friday. So, oh, I also released another, I did a Deep Sleep Whisper Confused to Sleep on the same day. So maybe it got a little bit lost. Since last week's Q&A Friday, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, I've done 10 recordings. 10 videos, 10 recordings, audio recordings. So that's 60 podcast episodes, with the different lengths and stuff. Blimey. So yeah, I did Q&A Friday, and then I did Let Me Bore Your Pain Away on the 8th, so that would have been Saturday, I suppose. And I did Let Me Bore You to Sleep 1286 BJJJ. Then I did Deep Sleep Whisper Non-Sequential Body Scan on the 10th. And I did the 11th Try and Keep Your Eyes Open Challenge, Deep Sleep Whisper, number 521. On the 11th I did Cold Neighbours, which was 1287 Let Me Bore You to Sleep. And then on the 12th, Increased Comfort, Deep Sleep Whisper, number 522. And then on the 12th I did 18 Years on YouTube, which was number 1288, Let Me Bore You to Sleep. Blimey, that's a lot. Being Here Now, which was number 523, Deep Sleep Whisper, on the 13th. And again on the 13th, I Fitted a Shower, number 1289, Let Me Bore You to Sleep. And then lastly, on the 14th, which was yesterday, okay, is Windy Body Scan, number 524, Deep Sleep Whisper. So I did do something yesterday, I didn't do a Let Me Bore You to Sleep. I can't even remember doing it. I do vaguely remember doing that. Oh well. So things are going pretty well. Yesterday was quite a busy day actually with the podcast, but once I hit the afternoon, I was a little bit bombarded with people. And 3 different things happened with the neighbours, and it just left me a little bit of a crumple, a little bit, bleh. And it carried on till 3 o'clock. And the reason I didn't do this recording, was because of what happened previously in the day, not because of the break-in. So I went to bed at 9. I couldn't really focus on anything. I just want to go back to bed because there was some domestic thing going on in one of the neighbours' place. Another one asked to borrow money. It was like just, yeah. And then that happened in the like 12:30. So, yeah, all in all, I'm going to write yesterday off, but I did make a recording, so that's good. So I've got 3 questions. Hillary, Cindy and Ing. So I'll start with Hillary. Have you seen Baby Reindeer? If so, did you ever meet the bloke from it on the comedy circuit in London? Also, was he really that unfunny? Well, no, he was funnier than me, probably. I don't know. I think he was after my time. Because although I was still involved in the comedy circuit as far as with the comedy club up till 2010, I think it was, I wasn't really involved that much between 2001 and 2010. There were periods when I was, but I wasn't involved as like performing or anything. So I don't know. I might have met him, I don't know. Yeah, I see it. If anyone doesn't know what Baby Reindeer is, it's a TV show that was on Netflix, or still is on Netflix. And it was very controversial at the time. It was about stalking. For me, that wasn't the bit that was most distressing of the whole thing, to be fair. There was some pretty awful stuff in it. It was interesting, it was well put together, well written, well performed, but it wasn't a particularly nice show, to be honest. It was, I mean, from a comedian, like from being on a comedy circuit perspective, there were some things that were very true to life, you know, but yeah, I don't know, there was bits in it that didn't seem to get much attention from the press, which I found a little bit disturbing. I watched it because it was so publicised, and I thought, okay. And I thought it was good, but it wasn't uplifting. I didn't feel motivated afterwards. But when I start something, I generally finish, like with a TV show. If I get through, like, if there's only 8 episodes and I get through maybe 3 or 4, even if it starts to kind of go a little bit downhill, generally I will stick it to the end. Not always, but, you know. And with that, it was interesting, entertaining in an interesting way, I guess. And I think he really only focused on the comedy. I don't know if he was a successful comedian or not. I don't know. I know I wasn't, but I don't know about him. But you know what? Because he was a comedian, maybe he still is, to show himself getting booed, and they call it dying on stage, to show that just in a way shows his lack of ego, because not many comedians would actually pretend to do really badly on stage, you know, because it's such a horrible experience to die on stage as a performer. And I did it many times. I mean, I had many really bad gigs because I wasn't very good. That's the fact of it. I had a few good gigs, but I didn't. I was young. I was trying to be something I wasn't, and I didn't know. I guess I didn't really know who I was. I did know who I was, but I couldn't express it. Does that make sense? I hadn't found my voice. And I don't think I really found my voice until I started doing this stuff. And I wish I hadn't, because I don't like it. No, I can be myself doing this. It's the only time I can actually really be myself. And it's weird because, yeah, I guess I'm opening myself up to be judged. But I don't feel judged. There's going to be people that are going to judge. It's just normal, isn't it? But it's kind of doesn't matter in a way. But at the same time, if I had a gig filmed, which I could have done, I could have had. There was at least one club that used to film gigs if you wanted them to. And you'd pay them like £10 or £20 for the videotape. If I had a gig which was really bad, I would not post it on YouTube for people to see, or on Facebook. I wouldn't, because I still don't want anyone to see me like that. It'd be nice to see it in the sense of just see me as a young person, just literally turned 20. Turned 20 in August and started comedy in January. It would be interesting. It'd be kind of, I mean, the only real record of me doing comedy is three things really. I would say four things. Time Out magazine, in the listings, in the comedy or variety or whatever they used to call it section, I would be listed as Jason. That was it. I never gave my surname, Jason. And I would be generally in the open spot, or occasionally I do a paid gig on 10 minutes. And when I say occasionally, I do mean occasionally, like not very often. So I was listed hundreds of times, probably, over that time. I mean, I didn't do that many gigs. I think I did about 250, I think I worked out. Maybe a little bit more. So I did about 250 gigs altogether. And it started to slow down as the years went by. So once I got past 1993, things started to slow down a bit. But I started to get better. But unfortunately, I'd burnt a lot of bridges in my younger years. And some people, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd gone on and been the funniest comedian anyone had ever seen. I think a lot of the promoters or the comedy club owners or whatever would have still not given me a paid gig, even if I was really good, because they just they'd remember me as I was. I think sometimes it's hard for people to see how you are now. You know, it reminds me when I was training to become a. I'm hoping I haven't got a cut, because I was outside. Well, I was downstairs, which pretty much being outside for about 2 hours, with just a t-shirt on, not this one, and just hope the cold hasn't got on me. So yeah, I was saying about people not being able to. My train of thought has gone. It's there. I nearly got it. I watched the Cadbury's. Okay, I don't like really watching adverts on TV. I don't watch much live television. But in the morning, early hours, Frasier's on. And I like to watch Frasier while I'm eating my breakfast. It's just a nice little thing. So there's adverts in between the episodes or the break. And I saw an advert for Cadbury's chocolate. And it had someone... I found this very strange. Maybe I'm wrong, but it had someone that had clearly a very serious medical disorder talking to his daughter, and doesn't know who his daughter is. So talking about his daughter, but it's his daughter there. I'm not going to say the name of the thing. I think it's kind of obvious from the way I described it. But I found that weird that they would use that to advertise chocolate. It seemed... Would they do that with anything else, with any other illness or disease? It just seemed a bit very distasteful. And I should know, I'm an expert on distaste. I don't know, just like, it's maybe you haven't seen it. If you're in the UK, you may well have seen it. I don't know if it's a worldwide thing. There might be different versions of it in other countries. But yeah, I'll be surprised if that's not taken off. Because, I mean, I didn't see anything where we're going to give our proceeds to the this particular disorder or anything like that on there, unless I missed it. So it's like, that was very, very weird. Anyway, as far as so you got Time Out magazine, which used to come out, I think, every Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, I think Thursday, and maybe Tuesday. And it was in London, and it was basically, it was all about cabaret and, theatre shows, cinemas, book releases, concerts. It's like basically things to do in London. Really good magazine. I used to get it just for the comedy, so I could see who was on and who was... What it was is weird. You know, we've got social media now, and people post what I'm going to be, where they're going to be. And if you wanted to go and see a comedian, you'd go perhaps to their website now, or you'd go to their Facebook page to see where they're going to be performing, or if they're a musician. Back in them days, you go to Time Out. And because I had a few friends on the circuit that I'd hang out with. Some of them were performing. Some of them, they were all comedians, but some of them might be performing, some of them might not. So, and there's certain clubs I could go to, and I would see other comedians that weren't performing that would be there on that night, and I could just hang out with them. And there'd be other comedians that I'd know, and they'd be performing, so I'd go along, and I wouldn't pay to get in. I hardly ever paid to get into a comedy club the whole time I was in London. I think I paid to get into the Comedy Store a couple of times, but generally I knew everyone. I knew the door because I performed there, so I knew the promoter, and I just walk in, and that's fine. It was good. And so if I wanted to go and meet up with someone, I wouldn't phone them. I'd just look and see where they were performing, and just go along to the club they were at and just hang out with them afterwards. So that was quite good. And then I think there was a couple of places where comedians would hang out. The Comedy Store, possibly Jongleurs as well, and the Comedy Cafe. And the Comedy Cafe had a comics room, which had a pool table, loads of sofas and stuff like that, darts table and stuff, a jukebox, I think. So quite a few of the comedians, some of the big names, would come and hang out there when the evening's finished, and they'd be there all night sometimes. Anyway, what was the other... Oh yeah, so you could look in the Time Out magazine. If you're able to get any copies from London, I don't know if they had Time Out magazine version for Manchester or Liverpool or any other cities. I don't know. Leeds, Newcastle. I'm trying to think of cities. There's a lot in Nottingham. Lots of different ones. So I don't know. They might have had Time Out version for these different places. But the London one, if you can get hold of a copy of Time Out from 1991, from, especially during the summer, you may well find my name in there, but it'd just be Jason. The other thing is, I was on the front cover, was I on the front cover? I was in the Independent newspaper. There was an article about me and another comedian, and they weren't talking about me, but they did describe me. It looked like they were. Meet Britain's worst comedian. I never lived that down, to be honest. Well, I have now, but back then. I actually had a promoter who was supposed to be my friend. He came up to me with Alfie from EastEnders, the actor that plays Alfie. This is before he was famous, really. I think he'd been on TV a bit. And he introduced me He said, Shane Ritchie, that's his name. He said, "Hi Shane, meet Jason, the worst, Britain's worst comedian." This was probably about 94, 93. So it was a while after. It was 93 that the article was in the paper. I think about September time, maybe February. A little bit of difference between those 2 months, isn't there? But it was uncalled for. I didn't come on. There's a whole backstory to that thing. I'll briefly, I've talked about it before. But that's another place you can find me. There's a picture of me. There's, where they put a teaser thing that does Meet Britain's Worst Comedian. And that's on the front page, just a little thing. I don't know if it's a picture of me or not. I don't think so. I think it's just image, the words. Go to page 12 or whatever. And then there's half a page. I think half of a page, because these are the broadsheets. So half a page about me and another comedian called something Bland, his name was, who was my friend. He was we got on really well, and it was just this lady came up to us after a gig and said, "Would you like to do an interview?" I said, "Yeah, all right." She said, "Well, what we'll do is, when's your next gig, and we'll come and see you," her and the photographer. So we did that. We just said, "Oh, we're going to be at this place next Thursday or Wednesday or whatever." So they came along, interviewed us, and took photographs and stuff. And I was excited, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to be famous." But the weird thing about it, and if this is the reality of it, and I think if it wasn't, I think I would want to turn it, because I'd rather just tell the truth. I'm not saying that I was good on that night, but the audience, this is what the lady said about me. She said, she talked about the other one, how awful he was. And then underneath she says, and Jason comes on, and what he's saying is awful. He's horrible. What he's saying is horrible, but he's funny. I'm laughing, and so's the audience. That's what she wrote. And there's a picture of me, full-length picture of me standing there. I think I was holding a cigarette. I had long hair at the time, in a ponytail, or maybe it was out. I don't know. And I was 22. 20, yeah, probably 22. And I kept that newspaper for years. And what's really weird, this is a weird thing, is I actually went for a job interview on the day that the newspaper was being released. I think it was maybe a Thursday or something like that. So I grabbed the newspaper on the way, so I grabbed an Independent on the way to the job interview. And so I just put it in my bag, my carrier bag, probably, knowing me. And I go up to the reception of the place that I'm interviewing for. I don't know what the job was for. I didn't get it, so probably some kind of sales job. And I was trying to impress. I don't know about impress, but I was kind of elevated. I was feeling really good. I was in a national newspaper for my comedy, and that was what a great opportunity. It could open up doors, and I was super excited. And also because the lady that was interviewing me said that she liked my set. I don't know if she said she really enjoyed it, but she said she liked it. And why do I say such horrible things? And I just jokes, that's all it is, just jokes, man. And she used my picture. It was black and white, and my picture was in there. She didn't show a picture of I don't know if there might have been a picture of the other one, but mine was I'll tell you when this was. This was during a period when there was an article on the other side of the paper about Mike Tyson. Yeah. So I'm at the reception waiting to be seen for my job interview. And I'm excited and I'm showing off a little bit. I was saying to the lady behind the receptionist said, "I'm in the newspaper today, you know." She said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." "Which one?" I said, "The Independent." Pretty highbrow, you know, compared to some of the others. She said, "Really?" She said, "Oh, we don't have that here." I said, "Oh, I've got it in my bag." "Well, let's have a look." I said, "Well, I've not looked at it yet," but so I get it out and show her the page, and it just says, "Meet Britain's worst comedian." I said, "That's me." Oh. And yeah, it kind of went down from there, really. But when I read it, so she wasn't particularly impressed because, you know, when I read it, I could see through the title because I knew the title wasn't about me. But no one else seemed to be able to read through that, including every other comedian. It's almost like every comedian on the circuit read that article. Every promoter, everyone connected with comedy read that article. And those that didn't heard about it from someone else. It honestly, it went viral. But then anything like that would do on a comedy circuit, you know. When Eddie Izzard came out as being, as I don't know what the correct term was at the time, but he'd like to dress up in different genders' clothes and stuff. That was a huge deal because he was almost like a god of comedy in London at that time. And you know, things like that used to get promoted. You know, if it just did. So this is one of those things. I'm not comparing myself to Eddie Izzard. It's just it was. I guess it was funny. People found it hilarious that I'd been mocked in such a way. Maybe. Well, I know some did because they actually told me. Well, even though I could see it wrote, because all I focused on was I was laughing. What he was saying was horrible, but I was laughing and so were the audience. That's the bit I focused on. I was laughing and so were the audience. And there was other comedians around, like Dennis Leary, and that were saying horrible stuff, and I don't do that anymore, but I used to. And, you know, I didn't know who I was from a performance perspective. And really, I was much worse off stage than I was on stage. Because off stage, I had no filter. On stage, I was trying to do an act. Now, if I'd have been what I was like off stage, on stage, I might have actually been successful. Because I could have just heckled people. And I was pretty quick. And, you know, I used to pretty quick comebacks. And I'd say the wrong things, but, you know, I think I might have. It wasn't just that, though, because I had a mood. My mood disorder's always been with me. I've had this since I was a kid. Got diagnosed when I was, 41, as bipolar, but I've had the mood disorder since I was a child. So I've never had stability, mental stability. So, you know, it depended on what mood I was in, which would be the result of the act. Because if I was in a good mood, sometimes it didn't matter what I said, and it was a good gig. I don't mean I'd think it was good, but the audience would sort of like me. But other times, I perhaps wasn't in the best frame of mind, and the audience didn't take me to their bosom so much. I do sometimes wonder if it would be worth going back just to do a one-off little open spot performance put a little act together. I don't know. But I don't want to do an act. Maybe some jokes. I don't know. I'd rather just be honest and talk about real things. And then, so there's that. The other thing that I got a radio interview. So I went into the comedy cafe, and Jeff, who was the compere, and it was the regular compere in there. I think I was in there, and I came out, and there were people chasing me outside of the club. So obviously I start running. I said, "No, wait." And the BBC had contacted the comedy cafe trying to get hold of me. Now, I was associated with the comedy cafe because it's somewhere that I used to frequent. You know, everyone knew that I was there. I'd be there nearly every Wednesday for quite a while, quite a few years. I was there very regularly, and I'd be there at the weekend as well. So people knew who I was in that sense. So the BBC left a message with the comedy cafe for me to contact them. And I thought, TV show, here I come. No. Which is kind of ironic because I had an opportunity to do a TV show and I didn't go for it. Yeah. I've talked about that before, I think. But I had a friend who was a BBC producer, and she was also a comedian. And she took a liking to me as a person, and actually liked my act as well. And she wanted to do a fly on the wall camera thing, just follow me around in my day-to-day life, at work, at home, going to gigs. And I mean, she had to go ahead. Everything was there. She just needed me to say yes. And I said no. And the reason I said no, twofold. Firstly, I didn't really want my family seeing me like that. I didn't want my nan seeing me doing those jokes on stage. And if it was going to be, it might have been on BBC Two, but it would have been on BBC something. They didn't have all the different channels back then. It was BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and Channel 4. That was it. 4 channels. That's all we had in this country. There was Sky, but that was satellite dishes and stuff. So it could have got a nice audience. And I don't know if it had been a one-off or it'd be a series. I don't know. Anyway, I turned it down because I didn't want my nan seeing me doing that. And I didn't want my family or the public seeing me how I was living. I had a horrible job and had a horrible lifestyle. I was living in this grotty room. I had no money to speak of. I was, just living I was earning like £100 a week, which even then was really rubbish. That's like £5,000 a year. So I was earning £100 a week in the early 90s. And it was ridiculously bad. It was, and I was embarrassed, to be honest with you. So I didn't go for it. But I did get to be on TV once. And that was twice actually. But as a comedian, I was on the Live, I think it was Live channel, which was a satellite channel, Live TV. And they had this was in 1995, around about October, November time. And there was it was in Canary Wharf, the Live TV channel. And it was owned by the Mirror Group, the newspaper group. And it was just a talent show. And the only audience was the other comedians and the crew that were filming. So I went on there and I got a film of it. I got a videotape of it. I don't know what happened to the videotape. I think I left it with a girlfriend at the time, and I don't think I ever got it back. I probably destroyed it. And so that was weird to see myself on the screen, because I did look. I noticed with the camera, I looked bigger, looked heavier than I was. So I liked that. And it wasn't a bad little set I did, to be honest. So that's around somewhere. The next year, ironically, I actually worked as a security guard in that exact same place that I'd done the recording. So it was the Mirror Group, and I'd move around, but quite often I'd end up on the live TV station floor. And one of the young lads that was working there, he said he was going to try and find the video and get me a copy. And I was on that TV show once as well. They had a TV show which was like a soap. I think it was just called Canary Wharf, to be honest. And Richard Bacon was starring in it. And there was a lady who ended up working in Coronation Street as a lady something or other. She was blonde. She was lovely. Richard Bacon was lovely as well. So they were always really friendly to everyone. And I think you can get an idea about someone when they say hello to the security. I think it's quite nice. And they went out of their way, and it was nice. Anyway, once Richard said, "Can you do me a favour? We want to do a scene where we film, but you're trying to stop me from getting into the building or getting into the studio." So I'm standing like that, and I think he like pushes me over or something like that. And so I've got my security uniform on, so I'm on there. I very much doubt any of that stuff is stored. But yeah, that was me. I was 25 at the time. So that's the only things where the comedy, from a comedy perspective, that I was recorded, that there's any, there's my name in Time Out. That's not the question, is it, you asked? Sorry. Although I was in a local paper in 2006. I still got it. And it was about my free pain relief service that I was offering. And yeah, it was good. A newspaper article, a new reporter came round with a camera person, and they took pictures of me doing relaxing pain relief hypnosis with a gentleman that had arthritis. And they interviewed him as well, and me, and she went through it. It's a really nice article. There was a picture of me that didn't look great. Yeah, it just didn't look. 2000. Yeah, I didn't. It wasn't a good picture. I've never had a good picture took ever. Maybe that black and white one in the Independent, that was quite a good picture. But I think I look better in black and white. Yeah, that's the equivalent of like, I've got a face for radio. Yeah. So I was in a newspaper there, and then from that I got another radio interview. But that was like a year or so. Or did I get two? I think I might have got two radio interviews, just asking about the free pain service, and that was it. It's like wasn't really a lot to say. So yeah, that I got a couple of radio interviews, and didn't seem to really. My website got a bit of traffic, and I was getting people contacting me, so that was good. From that perspective, that was the whole point of it, really. But Baby Reindeer, I don't know. I don't think I met the bloke. I might have done, but I think he's a lot younger than me. So he probably wasn't even. I mean, let's have a look. What's his name? Baby Reindeer. So Baby Reindeer, his name was Richard Gadd. So he's 35 now. He was born in 1989. So he was 2 years old when I started doing comedy. Which meant it'd be... I stopped doing stand-up in about 98, which means he would have been 9 years old. So yeah, no. And even during the 20s, 19. So no, I wouldn't have even seen him in the 2000s. No. So no, I didn't have much to do with the comedy circuit after 2010. I'd go back and help out in the office. My friend who owned the comedy club in 2009, 2010. And then I did help out with another comedy club in about 2015, I think, for a bit, going up to London. But I struggled with that, so I had to stop. But my friend just asked me to go and help out. He thought it'd be nice for me to do something, do something different, and to be involved in something away from here and away from this life. And he was right, and I wish I kind of stuck at it. But there you go. What other questions are there? What is the most useful app on your phone? From Cindy. I'm going to go from what I use the most would be... I'm going to grab my phone. Probably Apple Music. So I listen to that every day. And Audible. I listen to that every day. So I use that every day. I do go on to Messenger. Is there any messages on Messenger? It's not opening up. I think the internet's going slow. Facebook, I'll go on just to sort of check stuff, but I don't really use it that often. Mainly I go on Facebook to post my latest recordings. YouTube, I suppose, if I want to listen to like an audio book or a lecture or something like that, because I've got it so that I don't get any disturbing. No one can phone me or contact me when I'm on YouTube. Although I do have my phone on mute anyway when I'm in bed. So Audible, I would say Audible and Apple Music. There's a couple that I use regularly, but it's like once a month. So the NHS app I use once a month, just to reorder my prescriptions. Other than that, no, not really anything that I use regularly. So yeah, I'd say that was... I can't believe I answered that so quickly. So yeah, Apple Music... I listen to Apple Music every day. I listen to Audible every day. Other than that, can't think of any other apps. The global radio player. So if I listen to LBC, I listen on the global player. There's also a BBC Radio app that I listen to sometimes as well. I can't see where it is. They've got too many things here. Radio. I can't find it. Oh yeah, BBC Sounds I'll make sure to turn it down so it doesn't come up. Radio, BBC Sounds. So my favourite one on there would be Radio 3, because there's lots of classical music on Radio 3. It's one of the things I like to listen to. But at the moment Audible. Yeah, it's like Apple Music. That's it. No other apps that I really use regularly. That's the main two. Yeah. My dad loves WhatsApp. I don't like WhatsApp necessarily, but I do get occasionally people contacting me on WhatsApp. It is handy to send videos and stuff like that, so that's pretty good. So that's one of the good things for WhatsApp, and also technically if you've got data on your phone, it's free to talk, so there's that. I've got unlimited calls on my phone anyway, so that stuff doesn't really bother me, doesn't affect me. Although I do have a friend that he sometimes calls me when he's out of the country. Well, he lives out of the country, but sometimes when he's on his boat in Spain or whatever, and he'll call me on WhatsApp because it would cost a fortune to call on his phone. And I think sometimes it works better if you've got broadband, or if you've got, it works better than the actual signal for a phone signal. I'm making part of that up, but it does sometimes do that. Ing asks, if I remember correctly, you've been to Thailand. What did you like best about your vacation there? I had a very weird time when I went there because I was ill. I broke my rib and I was ill. I had a chest infection, so it didn't go particularly well for me. But one of the things that I really remember is it smells nice. See, it doesn't smell nice here. I don't mean just in my flatulence. It's not just that, but it's where I was staying. I didn't travel the whole country, but where I was staying just smelt nice. You've either got the food that's being cooked on the streets, so there's that smell, which smells nice, but you've also got the incense being burnt, because there's lots of statues of the Buddha dotted around, so people pray and give offerings, flowers and stuff like that, and there's incense being burning, so it's a very fragrant place. Again, I don't know what it's like other places, and I'm sure it smells it's a lovely smell in the forests, because of all the trees and all the different plants and stuff. But they also have wild animals, so I wouldn't want to go into the forest or the jungles. Did they have jungles in I could say Vietnam, in Thailand? I think they do, don't they? They have jungles. They have forests. I don't have jungles. What do I like best about being there? I think the best thing about going anywhere is not being here. And I don't mean here specifically. I just mean it's being somewhere else is kind of the benefit of that is being away from like normal life. And that was nice, just to get away, to be away from there's been a lot of drama in this building for years now. It seems to have started a bit more recently, and I'm hoping it goes away, but I needed to get away from that. That's why I went. I went during lockdown, the last year of lockdown, which meant I had to have a pass and had to go through all these things to go. But I was desperate to get away from this building, so that's kind of what I did. The best thing about it is, I'll tell you what I did learn, and this isn't necessarily, it's not positive, it's not negative, it's just true. I realised I took myself wherever I go. I didn't change as a person. I didn't go out there and suddenly be a different person and be all excitable, or I was exactly the same there as what I am here. And that surprised me, because I thought being in a nice place, being in it's much friendlier than here. I mean, on a different level of friendliness. Just people say hello. People are nice. People will help you. I'm not saying that doesn't happen here, but it's not as, it's different. It's a different energy that I noticed. Is even when I got to the airport and I needed a SIM card for my phone, because it was, if I used my own phone SIM card, it would have cost me money. But this SIM card was like 20 quid or something for a month, and it allowed me to phone. I couldn't phone abroad, but I could phone anywhere in that country, text and stuff like that. And it gave me internet, like mobile, unlimited mobile for 30 days or something like that. Maybe it was two weeks. And the lady behind the counter put the SIM card in for me. She set it up. She triggered it and got it so it was working. She didn't have to do that. She just offered to do it. Didn't have to ask her. Now, I'm just guessing, but if someone came over to the UK from another country and was in the same situation and bought a SIM card, would the person behind the counter offer to put the SIM card into their phone for them? Maybe they would, and I should stop being so judgy. But I just found that they went way over their, what they would need to do. It's like, just naturally seems to be a bit friendlier without needing to know the person. And I don't know. I think. See, when I broke my my rib, and the lady behind the counter at the hotel offered me some medication. Now, I was a little bit worried because, in Thailand, as in some of those countries, if you get caught with the wrong medication, you can go to prison. So, and I wasn't, because I take cocodamol for my arthritis in my back. Illegal. Can't have cocodamol in Thailand. So I couldn't take it with me. And so that was a little bit of a problem. But being in a warm country really helped. It didn't hurt the way it does here, because they're having such a cold place here, and it's damp. Over there it's very, actually it can be quite, it's a weird kind of, it's hot. Actually makes a difference. I think it made it easier for me to walk around and stuff without any medication. But with a broken rib, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do now, because I haven't got my cocodamol, which would be helpful right now. And they do have chemists out there, pharmacies, but I didn't know what to take. And I thought, well, if this is going to be an aspirin, there's hardly any point, really. And the lady said, well, I've got tablets for you. And she didn't want any money, she just gave them to me. But she gave them to me in, like, there was no labels, just gave me a cup, like 6 or something. I don't know if it was in her hand or on a piece of paper. So I didn't know what they were. And Gone are the days when I put anything in my mouth that I don't know where it came from. I need to know what they were. What is the medication? And also the fact that I had it on me. And I was concerned, what if this is... See, what it is, it might be the same for other countries as well, but in Thailand, there's a 2-tier system. Things that are okay for the Thai populace, people that live there and, you know, born there, is different from the rules for the tourists. Farang, they call us. Westerners. And so they're much more stricter with the Farangs, you know, with the tourists. For example, vaping is illegal in public. In fact, I don't think you're allowed to even vape at all. But you can buy them and you can vape them in public if you live there. You see people, and the police don't do nothing, but if they decide they need to make a bit of money, the police, they will fine the Westerner or a visitor, a holiday maker, and give them a big fine and get some money. But they don't seem to fine the locals. So it's like one law for us, one law for them. Another thing is riding without a motorbike helmet. They're supposed to wear a motorbike helmet, but they don't. The police don't seem to do anything about the locals riding around without helmets on. Even to the point where the bike taxis, they will stop the bike taxis and fine the passenger for not wearing a helmet, but not the driver for not wearing a helmet. It's kind of weird. Why anyone would want to be on a moped, either the passenger or the driver, without a helmet on is beyond me. Beyond me. Why? Why would you? It's just no. I mean, I used to have a moped when I was about 15. I wasn't old enough to ride it, but I had about 2 or 3 in the garage, because I lived in a council flat with my step grandmother, and there was a garage downstairs, so I had these. I don't know. It's a thing. It's a little phase I went through, and I wanted my moped, so I bought a couple, or I got given them. They were cheap as anything. And my friends used to come around, we'd ride up and down the slope, which used to annoy people. But those things, even though they don't go fast, they do go fast. Because if when you're 15, 16, whatever, okay, 16 legally, I think was the age back then, the fastest you've ever really gone, generally, would be on a bicycle, a pedal bike. And unless you're going down a hill, you're probably not going to be going particularly fast. So when you got on one of those little mopeds and you're going 30 miles an hour, that's like lightning. Whoosh. And if you want to make it go faster, you have to push forward with your body, because that makes it go fast. It doesn't. Yeah, no, it doesn't. So, but everyone does it. The kids, yeah, that'll make it go faster. No. That is not how the thing works, really. I mean, you don't see anyone in the car doing that today. They've got 90. I want to get to 100. If I just push forward, maybe that'll get faster. No. Maybe it works. Maybe I'm wrong. And back to Thailand, which is what we were talking about. I like the friendliness. I like the fact that it's a Buddhist country, which is one of the reasons I went there, because I've been very interested in Buddhism since I was about 14. And The idea, because I live in when I grew up, this was classed as a Christian country. So when I was at school, we had hymns, Christian hymns, singing every day, every morning before, at the beginning of the day. RE would be, religious education would be a standard thing, and it'd be pretty much based on Christianity. I think they used to do praying, I think, maybe as well, before lunch. I don't know. I might be making that bit up. But it was definitely it was about Christians. I mean, there was Catholicism. There was also other religions were here as well. But basically, it was pretty much classed as a Christian country. So even people that didn't go to church or had no like regular thing, they'd still class themselves as Christians, maybe. So a lot of the festivals like Christmas, Easter, everyone pretty much, I say everyone, most people in this country used to celebrate those things, whether or not they were religious or not, because it was part of our culture. Thailand is the same, but with Buddhism. So their culture is Buddhism, even if they've never ever, they're brought up to learn Buddhism. They're brought up to, as Buddhists, they're brought up to believe in that doctrine. It's not really a doctrine, but I guess it is. But they, it's underpinning their personalities and how they live. I'll give you an example. So sometimes you see someone and they'll have a drink, a bottle, and they pour some of the water into the street, or some of the beer into the street from the bottle. And they're doing that because it's an offering to the Buddha. And instead of, oh my God, they say, oh my Buddha. So, which is saying, oh my God, is blasphemous anyway, isn't it? But, so it's very, I think having that as an underpinning is why there's a kindness there, a softness that comes with being a Buddhist culture. They're not all soft, but there's a softness that's there that I think you're probably only going to really get with Buddhism. There's a certain way, and there's the same kind of softness, a different kind of softness, caringness that you would get for different religions. But it's a little bit different. It's hard to. I'm not saying it's better than anything else, because I know people watching this or listen to this that have their own religions. That's cool. But for me, coming from a kind of a Buddhist perspective, originally Catholic, then edging towards more Christianity, Jesus and that, and then getting interested in. I was interested in spirituality for a while. Very interested in all that stuff. The occult. When I was a kid, that is. And then I kind of moved towards Christianity. Then I moved to Buddhism. And Buddhists was probably the biggest part of my life. But when I was a kid, although I was brought up as a Catholic, because my nan was a Catholic, so all of her kids, my dad and my uncles and aunts, all went to a Catholic school. They all went to church and all that stuff. Catholic weddings, all the whole Catholic thing. Although my granddad wasn't. I don't know if my mum's side was Catholic. And that's probably to do with the Irish side, to be fair. So my whole nan's side was Irish. And because I'm 48% Irish, according to my DNA tests, so I've also got Irish on the other side of my family, my mum's side. And then when I was in the children's homes, the second children's home in Southend, when I was, 5 till 7 or whatever, what age is, I don't know, there was a church in the garden. Nazareth House. It's not there anymore. I think it's been knocked down. I think they built flats or something. But it was there for a good 100 years, 150 years. And I wasn't there the whole time. And it went from being a children's home. I think it was it was like an orphanage, basically. And then it became like a nursing home for elderly people the last like 10 or 20 years. So there was a lot of praying, going to church twice a day, in the morning, in the evening. Vinny, you see him? Why is he doing that? He was asleep. I must have done something that woke him up, and now he's like, oh, restless. You've been restless? Winnie, are you being restless? And yeah, so he had the church, and I was not really big into it, to be honest. I had no choice. I was a kid. It's got to do, we had nuns. Basically, nuns run the orphanage. So living with nuns is not... It wasn't a picnic. It really wasn't. And apart from when we had picnics, then it was a picnic. One of the things I did like to do, though, is putting out the candles. So I had these little snuff things that they're like little bells, like a little bell, but without the bell. But they were on the end, and you put it over the candles and put the candle out. But the candles would be really high up. How they lit them, I don't know. I can't remember. How did they light them? Maybe someone used to come with a ladder and light them. But I used to put them out. I used to be allowed to hold it with a stick or big metal rod or whatever, and just like aim it and put out the candles. That was my treat if I was good. And I enjoyed doing it. I don't know why. I guess I was the opposite to an arsonist. I liked putting fires out. Yeah. He's a fire put outer. That was me. Yeah. What was the question? Thailand. Okay. What did I like best about it? The people, probably. I mean, for me, my best experience was giving out food. It was an opportunity to do something I'd always wanted to do. I mean, I've given food out here in the UK before. I sort of did volunteer a little bit at the soup kitchen, and worked at the food bank, or volunteered at the food bank in 2 different towns. No, 1 town, yeah. But I like the idea of just doing a big give out. So I found this place which sold, it was a bar, but they also did food, and I got them to make hundreds of meals, and I gave them out to the locals. And this was during a period, as I said, it was like semi-lockdown still there. A lot of them hadn't worked for over a year and still weren't really working, so they didn't have much. So they came from far and wide, seriously, to collect these. And they were taking bundles of them for the whole family. So it was, I don't know what it was. It was some kind of chicken, rice, egg on top, and a bottle of water. And they were in these polythene, like the things that you used to get with McDonald's, or, didn't they used to be yellow, and they'd fold and the burger would be in there. Those kinds of things, but a little bit bigger because they had food in. They were like long. So we did it 2 days in a row. I gave out, I don't know how many meals there was, a few hundred meals. So that was actually one of the highlights of my life. And I'm not saying it because, There's a hero if you look inside your pants. I'm not saying that. It's just a reality. And I've actually got a picture of me doing it somewhere. And someone there was filming it, so I don't know if it got around Thailand or whatever, but I never see anything online about it. But it was just cool. It's something that I'd like to do every day. Give out food to people that are hungry. Like every day. I mean, it was like a lunchtime thing. For 2 hours a day, go somewhere and just give food out to people that are hungry. That is a feeling that I've never... Yeah, it's one of the best feelings I've ever had, I would say. I mean, I think the difference between, because I've helped out at the soup kitchens, I've helped out at the food bank and stuff, and it was different because I'm not saying that people that go to the soup kitchen aren't regular people. I'm not saying anything detrimental. Just these were just working. I don't know how to explain it. Just taxi drivers and people that are working in shops, and they just weren't getting paid hardly anything because there was no customers. And so it wasn't homeless people turning up. It was because I'd have to travel to them because they wouldn't be able to get into where I was. So it wasn't people they were just down on their luck in the sense of they didn't have any, because they relied on tourism. And because the borders were closed, or to start with for about a year, no one could travel for a year. And then the second year, it was they still had their lockdown, semi-lockdown. So you could travel, but you had to jump through a lot of hoops to do it. Had to have all the different documents to prove that you were covered and whatever. I don't even want to say the words, but it was kind of weird. So I didn't go there at a busy time when it was, which suited me because I'm not really into like really busy areas anyway. But that was probably one of the best experiences I've had. And I do still think, like, how cool would that be to be able to do that every day? Just go out for 2 hours a day and just give out food. But I'd have to pay for it, then give it out. And then spend the rest of my time doing whatever I do, making recordings or whatever. So we'll see. But I enjoyed it. I'm glad I got to do it. I just, yeah. I've got nothing more to say really on that one. It was a great experience. And there was a lot of real gratitude. I felt the gratitude. I kind of just felt even though different language, I kind of felt the energy, the smiles. A place where you could be kind to people and give gifts without them thinking it's something weird. So at one point, one day, because the whole of the town road was being dug up, so there was lots of workers there in the heat. I mean, it's proper hot. So I grabbed this coffee place that made coffees and gave out drinks and stuff. That was like he had a moped, and it was on the back of a moped, and he was going down the road. So I stopped him. I said, I just want to give stuff out free. And he said, all right. So he said how much, whatever. And so we went down the road and we just gave out drinks to everyone that wanted them, that were working. And they took them and they were grateful. And it wasn't like, oh, because if you did that here, like, give me a free drink for I'm working, I can afford to pay for my own drink. That might be the thing that you might get in this country. Because they weren't, it's not like they were begging or they were just working, but they weren't getting paid hardly anything for doing the job. And also, even if they were, it's really, really hot. Which surprised me how many of them had coffee. Why would you drink coffee in that heat? But hey. So that was another thing I enjoyed doing. Another thing I liked was we did the same. Further down near the beach, there was I said we, because I had this person that was showing me around and she'd help me with some stuff with communication and that. And we went and got these, it was a whole stall making these sticks of meat thing that went into bags, and they just, bought loads of them. I thought I'd ended the store. We went to the beach and gave them out to people. So she helped me, and it was good because she could communicate. And she said, no, don't approach that person. Some people didn't want to be given stuff to, and some of them didn't like foreigners and stuff. So it's cool to know that. And then we go, and I'm thinking, I've helped them, but I've also helped the bloke out because he can have an early night. Because I've went back, he's completely full again. It's like, where'd you get all this stuff from? So he's constantly got a supply. He's never going to run out. Another thing I quite enjoyed is feeding the dogs, because there's a lot of wild dogs just walking around. And there was this big, massive gate, and there was, I don't know how many dogs. 30, 40, 50 dogs all in and out of there. So I kind of put some water, I think we filled some water up for them, and then chucked food. Some of them would come and take it off the stick. Others wouldn't. So you'd have to wait and would chuck it over or through the gates and stuff. So that was good as well, because I do, like animals. I used to like dogs before I got Vinny. Now I'm not so keen. No, I did. It was weird. Never seen wild dogs before. And generally they don't bother you if you don't bother them. But they're wild, so they're not pets. Although I've never really been like a dog person. I didn't have Vinny at this point. And I'm on the beach. I think I'm just sitting on a promenade, and this little lump comes walking towards me. And it's, I think, like a Labrador, but it's a baby, really tiny. It's really taken a shine to me. And I'll be honest, I wanted to take it home with me. I wanted to just cutest love. Because he never wanted to, even now, he's not interested in me. He's so just does his own thing. This puppy chose me. He didn't choose me, I chose him. Just circumstances kind of put us together. And he wasn't a puppy, he was 10 months old when I got him. But this puppy, this is so cute. And the mother was nowhere to be seen. I knew I had to be careful because, apart from the fact that Labradors are big dogs, and it's wild, so if they thought I was messing with his child, they might kind of attack me. So I thought, okay, keep my distance. But in the end, I ended up just kneeling in the sand and playing with this little dog. It's so cute. And if I was living in Thailand, I probably would have took the dog home with me. Probably would have carried it home and had it living with me. But I don't live there, so I didn't. And it was hard just to let it go. I had to just walk away. and looking at me, like just following me for a little bit, and it was so cute. Such a cute animal. But I think it was the smell. That's what I really noticed. Also, the first day I woke up, I was sitting on the balcony. I was having some cornflakes and a cup of coffee, listening to LBC radio, and it was a show. Steve Allen, he's not on there anymore, but he used to do the 4 till 7 slot, 4 a.m. till 7 a.m. slot. So I was listening to the radio at like 11 o'clock or something, or maybe it was 12, maybe it was 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, I don't know, whenever it was, but the radio would be on. Steve Allen would be on at like 4 or 5 in the morning in the UK. And you could hear music in the background and a bit of traffic, and there was the heat and there was a smell, and it was a unique experience. Yeah, very unique experience. But it was nice to have that little touch of home, that little feeling of being connected back here by listening to the radio. That was nice. But I did notice that I just was still myself. So things that would bug me here, bugged me there. Which I was surprised. I thought I'd be a bit more easygoing. Not that I'm not easygoing, but just there was one point where I got absolutely soaked. Like drenched. And I'm so annoyed. I was on the beach and there wasn't time to get home, back to the hotel. And it was during a rainy season, so I got completely drenched in a way that I've never been drenched before. And I was walking, and I walked past a bar, and the people were saying, "Do you want to come in for a drink?" Like, really? Can you see? I'm drenched, and cars driving past, spraying me, and I was just getting wound up, and I feel like. I got back to the hotel and I was just remembered I was on a holiday. But it didn't stop me from being annoyed. It was weird. Yeah. So yeah, I was still grumpy. I have my little grumpy moments, you know. Little growly bear sometimes. So that's all the questions asked and answered. 3 questions. Thank you, Hilary, Cindy, and Ing. And I'm going to go. Vinny's going to start barking. It sounds like there's someone shouting in one of the flats. Oh. Is it me, or is it starting to get dark outside? What's the time? 4:15. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Although it's still light at 5 o'clock now, which is beautiful. But I think by 6 o'clock it's dark. Which brings me to my next thing is I'm going to hopefully get this uploaded in the next hour or so. Edited, uploaded. I haven't had huge amounts of distractions or interruptions or interventions or anything like that. So it should be fairly straightforward to edit and process the video and the audio. So that's good. I'm still doing that thing, so if there's an interruption, I stop recording and I'd deal with the situation. Like I had to go for a toilet earlier, and then I come back, and it's just easier, which means I don't have to edit. I have to put them together and edit it, but I don't have to edit any of that recording apart from the very beginning and the end. Everything between is fine, as long as I stop the recording any time that he barks or anything like that, someone knocks at the door or anything like that. So that's me done. I'm not going to make a hypnosis recording today because boxing will be starting in a couple of hours. So what I'm going to do now is probably have a cup of tea, have a couple of tea cakes, and then do the editing here, get that done by about 7. And I'll start watching the boxing, and I'll have a pizza hopefully, maybe about 8 o'clock. Have a pizza while I watch the boxing. Yeah! So thank you. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. Lots of love.